Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we are going to be featuring some battles using one of the Draco Viz suggested teams. The team we're going to be using is Giratina, Zacian, and Xerneas. For Zacian, which is my safe swap, I use Quick Attack, Play Rough, and Wild Charge. And then, yeah, try to bait out Ho-Oh or some sort of counter to Xerneas and try to sweep with Xerneas. So overall, I went 9 and 6 or something. Anyways, I did pretty decent with this 8 and 7. I don't know. Anyways, I did pretty decent with this team. It's one of the safest team constructions in ABB team. But let's go ahead and get started. There are some kind of tough team comps for this one, but we're gonna go ahead get started. We're gonna see Giratina into Kyogre, which is a fantastic lead. I'm gonna switch out into Xerneas. Dialga definitely a little bit tricky. Ideally, you want them to throw beforehand, but sometimes you can't control that. So I do end up throwing the close combat. Never throw right away because a lot of times they try to CMP tie. So they will try to farm up here, and then I will have to shield and then throw the close combat. Unfortunately, they did not end up seeing CMP tie. It would have been nice to sneak in the Geomancy. And now I have to double shield and farm down. But you'll come out with a decent amount of energy on Xerneas. They will not be able to reach another move before you farm down. So it's a safe farm down as long as you switch out quick enough. And I will throw the Moonblast at the Kyogre. And then look to reach another Moonblast. The close combat wouldn't be enough and just barely are able to make it. I throw the close combat. I should have switched out right away here, but I was a little bit slow on the switch. So they actually will be able to make it to 2 Fusion Flares before I'm able to make it to 2 Play Roughs. Just barely. If I would have switched out right away, I would have been able to make it to the second Play Rough beforehand. But that's quite all right. As you can see here, I end up getting beat by the move by a few turns here. By 2 turns. So if I was switched out right away, I would have beat them by 1 turn. They Fusion Flare. I'm going to wait the clock. The Shadow Ball doesn't quite KO with the Shadow Claws, but I have a little bit of health left on Xerneas. So I will throw the Shadow Ball. And then I will do 1 Shadow Claw and switch. And then ended up catching the move onto Xerneas here, and then going to be able to turn down. I would have survived the Fusion Flare anyway, so I'm actually not. I guess they're not carrying Crunch. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, worked out okay for me. Again, if you want to check out all the battles, they're on twitch.tv/KingIV. And we're going to have Giratina into Rayquaza, which is a very, very, very bad lead. So I'm going to say switch into Zacian, and they come into Solagio or Sogaglio. I got to really learn to pronounce this Pokemon's name. Anyways, I farm up to quite a bit. They're very patient here. They're waiting for me to throw. I debated shielding here, because if I shield here, I probably should have shielded. They end up, but that's quite all right. I will go to Giratina and look to farm down. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to farm down. And we will see how this will play out. They will reach another Psychic Fang, which does make it pretty awkward here because my defense will be pretty low. Thankfully, the Fire Spins don't do that much damage, so I'm going to look to farm down. And I'm going to switch out. But this is obviously a very tricky situation. And they switch out, and they have Heatran here, which is absolutely disastrous for me. I can hit with super effective on the close combat, but one doesn't one-shot. And they will CMP tie. They throw the Magnastorm. It's 4 Fire Spins for each Magnastorm, so technically I can outpace, but obviously one doesn't KO, and with my drop defense, this is going to be pretty rough for me. And I will throw the close combat. I was hoping they would shield here so I could combo play, but then they would just farm me down with Rayquaza, so this would have been a very tricky situation here. I probably should have switched here and threw the Shadow Ball. But with my dropped defense, really nice counting by the opponent. Though the one Shadow Ball doesn't KO anyways. As you can see here, one Shadow Ball doesn't KO, and I would have been in a pretty tricky situation regardless. And they made the correct play there. So really nicely played. Double steal in the back is going to be really tough to deal with. So very well done by the opponent. Again, this is a pretty nice team to play. If you're looking for something like that has like a very straightforward plan, you know, Giratina, say switch Zacian, hope to close with Xerneas is basically the strategy. The only consideration there is that you do need to, okay. So I try to catch the Dragon Claw. So I will farm up, try to catch the Dragon Claw onto Zacian. I have two pretty decent answers, and they come into Xerneas. I will throw the Play Rough. And I'm going to let this go. One doesn't KO. I have Quick Attack, which is much better than Snarl against the Xerneas. And I will throw the Close Combat. Not Close Combat, the Play Rough. They end up throwing the Close Combat at me here. I will shield. Do I shield here? I think I shield here. Yes, I shield. They throw the Close Combat. I will do one and throw the Wild Charge. So this is a pretty decent situation for me. They will be able to farm me down with Giratina, and the Quick Attacks will do no damage to Giratina. And then I will come into Xerneas. I'm going to let this go. They do throw the Shadow Sneak. Perfectly fine for me. And they try to catch, but I'm not going to throw there. And I will throw the Shadow Ball when I get to 100. I did want them to throw the Brave Bird first, but that's quite right. They're probably going to throw the Sacred Fire first at me. I probably should have threw the Shadow Ball. But I was waiting for the Brave Bird, but maybe not the smartest play by me. Anyways, they do get the Sacred Fire and the debuff. So I will throw the Shadow Ball at them. And I want to make sure that they're in Moonblast range, so I will throw the Ominous Wind. And this will put them into Moonblast range, and then the game is pretty straightforward for me here. I'm going to let this go. They will throw the Brave Bird. I'm going to do one and throw the Moonblast, and then I should be okay. The Giratina is very tanky, but Moonblast hits very hard. So I'm going to let this, I shield this. I guess I should let it go in case they Ancient Power Boost, but they've already revealed Shadow Sneak. They just haven't revealed the second move, which is likely Dragon Claw. And they throw the Shadow Sneak, and you'll see the Moonblast does a tremendous amount of damage. Moonblast is just so much better of a move, so much better of a charge move than Play Rough that Zacian has, which is why Xerneas is such a good Pokemon. It's a little bit more one-dimensional or straightforward because it doesn't have that Wild Charge. It technically has Thunder, but no one ever runs Thunder, so its moveset is very predictable. Versus Zacian has Quick Attack or Snarl, Wild Charge, Play Rough, or Close Combat. Anyways, we have a bad lead. We're going to switch out right away. They will be able to throw the Fusion Flare. I didn't want them to catch, so I'm going to let this go. Farm up a little bit, and then throw the Play Rough. Does neutral damage. I double resist the Dragon Breath, or Zacian double resist the Dragon Breath. And they make a nice play. And they catch onto Lugia, but that's okay. Play Rough still does a decent amount of damage, and this also prevents the farm down. I did try to CMP tie with the Wild Charge, but I thought I did there, or maybe I miscounted there. I'm not quite sure. Anyways, I throw the Wild Charge, and then I come into Giratina. I will let this go. And then I'm going to come into Xerneas and then look to farm all the way down so I get a little bit of energy. And I think it's just Sky Attack is not a big deal. Gonna let this go. They have energy on Reshiram. And I will shield. So I'm thinking that they're weak to Xerneas. So I will do 3 and throw, basically go to 100. And if they shield, then I will basically shield again and farm down because they can CMP tie, or I can throw the close combat. So they do try to go for the CMP tie even though they had the move earlier. Allows me to sneak in the Geomancy. I'm going to be able to farm down. I would be able to farm down regardless. Actually, it would have been really close if they threw it proper timing. Anyways, let's see how they play this. They have Xerneas of their own, so this is a little bit problematic for me. But the opponent ended up playing this kind of weird at the end. I'm not sure they lagged. Anyways, I don't want them to catch on to Lugia, so I wait and then throw the Moonblast, hoping for a debuff. I am in close combat range. Well, close combat does about 25%. And I just turned, I think it's 24.5. Anyways, it does KO. And I think they were trying to catch there. Unfortunately, I actually don't have the move here. So I'm going to be able to throw the Shadow Ball and take them out. The ominous win would have been able to KO them with debuff. So they were trying to make a play there, but I think they just lost track of my energy. All right. So again, I thought this team was quite nice to play. Certainly some difficult situations if they have a steal in the back, especially like Metagross or something, and able to take quite a bit of damage. Okay. I do win CMP. So normally I throw the Shadow Ball. I'll throw the Shadow Ball, then switch out to Zacian. In case they have a steal in the back, I need to bait out the steal. I let this go. Shadow Ball does quite a bit, but still okay. And they come into their own quick attack Zacian. And I figured their Zacian does not have play rough. So I feel pretty okay. And they end up winning the mirror match, but they win CMP. I'm going to farm down all the way. I'm not going to shield. I'd probably be able to barely survive the play rough. Now let this go. They have Wild Charge, not a big deal. I'm going to be able to farm down. And let's see what comes in. They come with Giratina. And this opponent, I'm not quite sure what they were doing here. Maybe they lost track of my energy. Anyways, because I win CMP because I have Best Buddy and they don't. So I end up CMP tying them. And this puts me in a really good spot because they actually have Rhyperior in the back. And yeah, Giratina's very tanky. I'm going to be able to reach the Shadow Ball. And then no matter what they do, the close combat's going to be able to KO. Even if they throw 2 Breaking Swipes at my Xerneas, I'm going to be able to double shield, even if I could bait it twice and land the close combat, which would be enough to take it out. So, okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump to this next set here. All right, facing Raichu. And we pick up Giratina into Ho-Oh, which is a good lead. A lot of times they like to Brave Bird and dip. I'm really tempted to just wait a turn and then throw the Shadow Ball and CMP tie them and get the shield, but that's quite all right. And they come into Giratina. Again, we're going to play it very similarly. Usually I let them throw first if I can, but they're forcing me to go to 100. And again, I don't throw the close combat right away. I'm going to shield because they like to throw right away here and throw on the CMP. And then that way I have a little bit of energy. And I throw the close combat. Unlikely that they will shield at this point in time. Maybe I could do 1 more, but I didn't want to risk it. So I'm going to do 3 and throw the Moonblast. And then look to switch out into Giratina. So I figured they're double weak. So I'm going to actually bait them because the Shadow Ball would come very close to KOing. So I actually bait them with the Ominous Wind. And they actually shield. I will shield because this Brave Bird would KO. And they come into Giratina. I do win CMP, so I will go for the bait. Kind of a risky play, but I figured they're going to shield. And then I need the damage to put them to Play Rough range or Moonblast range. So I will throw the Ominous Wind again. and then we'll come into Xerneas. They do one Shadow Claw and throw the move, which is good timing by them. And then I come into Zacian, and my matchup is very straightforward here. The Ho-Oh does not have that much energy, and I just need to farm up a little bit and then make sure that they don't catch the play rough onto Ho-Oh. So you can see here, I do 3 more, wait, and then I see the Shadow Claw, then I throw the play rough at them. I just need to throw before they get to the Ominous Wind. And then I'm 3 away, but I'm going to do 4 just to make sure I have the maximum damage, and before I throw the Wild Charge and take them out. So I switched there because I have like technically 2 answers to a Ho-Oh at that health. And then Zacian with Wild Charge, especially with Quick Attack, is a very straightforward matchup versus Ho-Oh. All right, this actually was a really good game. Dragonite, obviously, tremendously terrible lead. So they will come into Groudon, and Groudon, again, is a very good counter to the fairies because Press's Blade is so devastating. You'll see that Press's Blade almost one-shots. So I'm going to let this go. There's no point in me shielding because they would be able to outpace me anyways. I try to go for the Wild Charge, hoping that they would think it's close combat to get a shield or something. Anyways, I'm going to go right into Giratina because they're going to get off a Precious Blade no matter what, and maybe even a Fire Punch. So I'm going to let this go. This is a Precious Blade. I'm hoping to Shadow Claw down before the Fire Punch. And I am. And I'm going to throw the Shadow Ball at this Dragonite and then look to switch to Xerneas, and then hoping that Xerneas can do some magic here. And they come into Mewtwo. I will throw the Moonblast. And I will double shield. They have so much energy right now. I will double shield. I'll be able to make a Moonblast. And I'm like, I actually said on stream, I'm praying for the attack drop. Like my only like sliver of a chance. So I will throw the Moonblast. And I actually get the attack drop, which is absolutely crazy. And they actually throw the Shadow Ball at me, which is the incorrect play. Still does a lot. And they come into Dragonite. I'm like, oh man, I really need another defense drop. Maybe a misplay by me here. I end up catching the move onto Giratina, and they make a beautiful play here, undercharging right before I can make it to the move. And without the undercharge there, then I would have been able to make a close combat. But honestly, maybe I end up getting Psycho Cut down, but maybe without the... I also could have stayed and then taken the move. So it would have been really close there. Especially since they Shadow Ball. Honestly, if they Side Striked me, then the Dragon Claw would have for sure KO'd. But I made it as close as I could. So obviously battling House Dark is always a tremendous fight to have. And he's picking up a good lead. And never throw right away versus the Mewtwo. Because they would win CMP. And if they Shadow Ball here, I probably should do at least 3 more and then throw. I think I do 2. I actually only do 1 and then throw. I guess I was too fearful of the switch and so I switch out right away to Zacian. And I throw the play rough. And I won't shield. Let this go. And they make a nice play onto Kyogre. Very nice play. Still does a pretty good amount of damage. Obviously, the Wild Charge would have did more, but still like almost in 1 Shadow Ball range anyways. I will shield. I'll do 1 Shadow Claw, then throw the Shadow Ball. And now my endgame is really straightforward. I'm going to switch. And Again, kind of tricky here. And I thought they were going to just throw the surf at me. I'm like, oh, I can't afford to get Origin Pulse. So I throw the close combat at this Kyogre. And then I will be able to make it to this close combat. Unfortunately, it actually doesn't KO at this health range. I guess they've only taken quick attacks. But there's just no way they're going to be able to make it to 2 Iron Heads. So I'm going to be able to farm them down and take them out. So that worked out pretty nicely for me. All right. And we're going to have Giratina into Dialga, which is very badly. So we switch into Zacian and they come into Mewtwo. I probably should... I should just let them throw first with the Mewtwo. Because then I could just double Wild Charge. And that way I don't have to shield. To the Play Rough. And then I miscount here, which is so painful for me. So painful that I miscounted here. I miscounted by 1. So I will end up shielding us. I should have no bubbled this Wild Charge. Then maybe I could get 1 more in. Let's say Wild Charge. I will throw the... We'll just barely make it to the Play Rough, which does some nice damage to Giratina. I come into my own Giratina. They will throw the Shadow Ball, but there's just no realistic way for me to play this. And then I switch because I figure they're going to switch out right away. And again, kind of tricky for me. They will throw the Iron Head. I think I throw the Moonblast. No, actually throw the Close Combat. But there's just no way. I think they end up no shielding this. And maybe I should double there. I don't know how to play this. Honestly, I should just let them take me out and then try to Shadow Claw down. Then go for the bait. I was actually hoping to make the close combat there. And then I don't know. It's like they're not quite in Shadow Ball range though. So would have been a pretty tricky situation. Huge down pair here, but that's quite all right. Okay, we go into another Dialga. And then they come into Mewtwo, so I'm like, okay, I'm determined to let them throw first. Unfortunately for me, they go all the way to 100 energy, so I have to throw, which is very bad for me. I'll let this go because I'll be able to survive this. And then I will shield. And throw the Wild Charge. They end up shielding. And then I'm like, okay, well, the only play I have here is to farm it down. So I shield, farm it down, and then I go for the Play Rough. They come into Dialga. Play Rough does like some damage. They don't get that much energy because I'm debuffed and I'm quite low. And then I come into Xerneas. And I could have thrown the Play Rough, I guess. Anyways, I double up. But again, they end up making a very nice play. And they catch onto Kyogre. I will throw the close combat. Then I'm going to switch out into Giratina. They must not have... I know, they must not have Blizzard here because I'm actually not sure why they didn't shield in Blizzard. So they're quite low. So I'm actually going to go for the bait. And then I was very fortunate here and I actually get the boost. And I get the boost. They have to double up on the Iron Head, but I'm just have too much health, too much defense, too much attack. And Giratina Origin takes out the Dialga. Very nice. All right, so that's the end of the battles there. Again, you can check out all the battles on twitch.tv/King Ivy. This is a very nice team to play. If you're looking for a safe team to play, this is definitely one of them. You can easily come up with some really great strategies. And it's going to leave it there. If you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.